Welcome back to Numbers and Narratives. We've got Cameron Morgan back on the show. Delighted to say. How are you, Cam?
Yeah, good. Thank you, Wes. Thanks for having me back.
Of course. Also, Owen here as usual.
Yes, I'm the regular. That's because I'm superior to Cam. That's why I'm here every week.
Yeah, and delighted to have you here as well.
Yeah,
I'm a bit sick as well, so if you notice like my snivelly voice, or if my voice just dies completely, you'll know why. But yeah, international break last week, so I'm really excited for that to be over because I don't know, why is it there?
Yeah,
like 3 weeks
so
into the
early.
season. Yeah,
It's so early. I hate it.
and it's like especially when the Euros just finished and the
Yeah.
Copa America. It's like we've seen enough international football, and this just feels so meaningless. But yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about the Socceroos, but we won't talk too much about the internationals because I know no one really cares about them. But let's start with the Socceroos. They lost to Bahrain last week, 1-0. And then last night, Cameron and I had to sit through one of the most boring games I think I've ever seen.
Yeah.
0-0 draw with Indonesia, and they really needed to win that match to get back in the up the qualification table. What did you think of the match, Cam?
It was terrible. It was so boring to sit through and watch. Just set piece after set piece missed, and just no real kind of rhythm in the way they play.
It's like they never really looked like they were going to score. They had plenty of the ball, but nothing, creating nothing really.
Yeah, Indonesia started really well. They had the home crowd on their side, and it was like loud.
It was like 70,000 fans
it
or
was
something.
really big. I was watching a stream that had no commentary, just the sound of the stadium.
Yeah, nice.
It was crazy. You felt like you were there. It was really cool, but unfortunately, it wasn't for Australia. It was, yeah.
Well, that's probably better than... I signed up for like a free trial for Paramount just to watch the game. And they had like these Aussie commentators who were like super biased. They're kind of just saying how dominant Australia were. After like that opening 5 minutes, they're like, yeah, Australia have dominated, created all these chances, just not putting them away. I'm like, have they really? Did they really create anything? There was a few half chances maybe. Irwan Kunda hit the post with like a flash shot from like, I don't know, how far out was he?
Oh, he was quite far out.
Yeah.
And had a weird angle to go for the near post.
But yeah, it just saved the keeper, but then just came off the post, hit the back of the keeper, and didn't go back in, which was unfortunate.
Yeah, I almost thought it would, just roll over the line after hitting the keeper, but no luck.
Other than that, I mean, there was like Sutai had a couple of headers from corners. He kind of looked like the most dangerous player.
Yeah, he is a massive threat from set pieces, just because he's so big.
He's huge.
He's massive.
And pretty quick as well for someone that big.
He's an impressive player. I do like watching him. But the rest of the team, just not.
I'm pretty sure Harry Suter was actually our leading goal scorer in the qualifications for the last World Cup.
Oh, really?
He
just
got
from set pieces?
that many from set pieces.
Yeah,
and
right.
also Australia's had problems with their man up front for quite a long time that they haven't really had anyone who can put them away, which again was the case, I suppose.
Pretty much. But I also think there's something to be said by like their style of play. Like just comparing it to the World Cup when they were pretty good. They made it round of 16, narrowly lost to Argentina. But it's like when they're on the back foot in those big competitions and they're forced to kind of play a more counter-attacking game, it kind of suits them better.
Oh, absolutely.
And then these type of qualification games when they want to have possession, but there's no space for them to work in because Indonesia are going to sit deep and they just do nothing.
Yeah, they just kept trying long balls over the top and it would just get intercepted. Indonesia looked pretty dangerous on the counter-attack, but they didn't have that final ball. But neither did Australia when they could make an attack forward, but yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to pose that to you, Owen. Do you think, like, for the development of football in Australia, like, in general, it's a good thing that we're trying to play this attacking football, or should we just try and win games and counterattack?
Well, I think it's a really awkward position to be in because, sure, when they go to the World Cup, they're the underdog for most games, or at least on level terms. But then when they're trying to qualify for the World Cup, they're generally they're generally considerably better side on paper. So it's almost like pretty much an identical situation to a team that's between being promoted and relegated in the Premier League and Championship. They're too good for one, but then they're too good for the Championship, but then they go up and they have to play a completely different style and then they struggle. So
But
I
they
think
didn't struggle at the World Cup. Arguably, they played better, didn't they?
they did, yeah, playing a different style, which
Yeah.
suited them a bit more. But I think, yeah, to answer your question about whether it's better for the development, on the big stage, they're probably never going to be playing better. Maybe not in our lifetime. They're probably going to be outplaying everyone like Spain were to win a World Cup. I'm not saying they can't. I mean, you can get lucky. It's going to be harder to be lucky with the 48-team World Cup.
Yeah.
But I think unfortunately they'd probably be better suited to just playing really strong opposition each week and playing the style that they would at the World Cup, which is less possession based, more impact per possession. And as you guys have said, they struggled. And Jackson Irvine said the same thing after they lost 1-0 to Bahrain, that the Socceroos really struggle against a deep block. So yeah, it's probably unideal, but that's only to qualify. You have to beat the bottom teams.
Yeah, I think the most dangerous the most dangerous they looked in that game was on the counter attack when Indonesia were attacking themselves, turned the ball over, and then Australia had a bit of space. But what do you think about that, Cam? Do you think they should maybe just play a more defensive game even against the weaker teams, or?
It's tough because if you do play that defensive game, you're just gonna open yourself up to chances. But you're trying to, I guess it's how Brighton. How Brighton played under De Zerbi is how Australia should try and play. Is to that kind of fake being vulnerable at the back,
Invite pressure,
and then create the space for players to run into over the back to stop that deep lying block, which teams that we're playing in qualifiers are just going to do, because I think Indonesia were ranked 106, and Australia are in the 30s, in the 20s.
And you couldn't tell by watching that game.
Oh no,
both teams looked
they looked terrible.
Shocking.
And you know what? The last time, Cameron, I think you'd remember as well, when Australia played Indonesia in the round of 16 of the Asian Cup.
Yeah.
Australia, the Socceroos won 4-0. Worst 4-0 win you'd ever see.
I remember watching that game with my dad, and it was terrible.
Yeah. They didn't play that well against Indonesia, even though the scoreline made it seem like they'd played extremely well. But yeah, I mean, the Socceroos have struggled with this for ages. You think probably, they won the Asian Cup in 2015, well done. The year before, they didn't qualify automatically for the World Cup, so they didn't do that well in the qualification there. 2018, while they're still under Ange Postecoglou, they still don't qualify automatically. They have to go through another process to get into the World Cup. And at this stage, even with a 48-team World Cup where there's more spots available, seems like Australia's, because they're so far on the back foot, they're going to have to rely on results after the initial. They're not going to automatically qualify.
No, it looks like they're going to have to go through that third phase again. It doesn't look good. I'm not very optimistic about them getting through. No.
Yeah, and you'd expect better. There's quite a lot of players now that have had experience playing in the top 5 leagues. I think Society, Connor Metcalf, Jackson Irvine, Nestor Urinkuta's just signed for Bayern. Then you've got Cam Burgess at Ipswich. So that's Suter played a few games for Leicester. So that's over half of your 11 that's played in the Europe's top 5 leagues, and they're still struggling against a relative these low rate.
They seem to miss Aaron Moy quite a bit.
Yeah,
he's at that midfield calm presence that they just lack at the moment.
Just that playmaker, which kind of makes things happen as well. Yeah. They just always are settling for a simple pass, not taking any risks with their passing. They always play the obvious pass, so it's just so easy to defend. There's Indonesia just shuffling backwards and forwards, and then when the ball eventually gets in the box, they head it away. And it was just they never looked like going for a cutting pass or anything like that.
No. I think that this might be Graham Arnold's last kind of major tournament will be, the next one, if there's no improved results.
Yeah, I'd probably say so as well. I think he's under a bit of pressure. It's not a good start. But, you never know. They could turn it around, but they've still got Japan to play.
Saudi Arabia.
Saudi to play. China in their group as well. It could be difficult, I think.
The one thing I was going to ask, because I obviously didn't catch the game because I didn't pay for Paramount Plus. Actually, that was something else I've got written down. If you want to watch, like, the Premier League and all of the other competitions in England, and then you want to watch the Champions League, you want to watch the A-League, right? Like, just the football. Like, you're a really big soccer fan. $780 a year to follow all those things.
Yeah. It's a bit ridiculous.
Because you need Stan, Paramount, Optus, beIN Sports if you're into the Championship. Yeah, all those.
It's, the expectation that you have to have all these fucking streaming platforms is a joke. Yeah.
Crazy. It's ridiculous, yeah.
I miss the old days when Foxtel had everything.
Yeah.
Premier League, Champions League.
Even when Optus Sport had Prem and Champions League.
Those were the days, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. I think Optus have got the FA Cup this year, which is something.
Yeah.
Did they?
Yeah.
That's huge.
So that's a lot better. But even so, yeah. You said you found like an illegal stream for this game. Yeah. I couldn't find one. Should have messaged you. Ended up just getting a free trial, which is okay because I just cancelled it. But yeah.
Was there a lot of diving going around in the team by the opposition? I heard that happened in the Bahrain game, but I know that's been in the past. It's a bigger issue in the Asian qualifiers for me than than in South America where it gets a bad rep. Was that present in this game or not particularly?
Yeah, when I was watching it, I definitely made a mental note that there's a lot of, the slightest touch and they're going down. And
a lot of carry on from there?
Yeah. I don't think the ref had a particularly good control of the game where you could just give him a card for diving.
Yeah, it's something I think they need to fix in the Asian qualifiers because it doesn't make particularly enjoyable viewing.
No, not at all.
No, it's not great. I didn't watch the Bahrain game, but I heard they were doing that the whole game and ended up getting one of our players sent off by diving all the time. But I didn't notice it too much in the Indonesia game. But I mean, there was a couple of times where it's a slight tackle and then they're rolling around on the floor. But I'm just sadly I'm kind of just used to that, even in the Premier League. Players are doing that all the time. But yeah, it's probably enough to talk about the Socceroos. It was a really dreadful game. Anything else you wanted to say about it?
No.
All right, let's move on then. I'm going to touch on England versus Ireland, not so much on the game, but on Grealish and Rice. We're kind of making stories because obviously they play.
And Lee Carsley, the manager.
And Lee Carsley. Yeah, do you want to tell us what happened?
I'll let Cameron do it. Cameron knows the story better than me.
Oh, so obviously he played for Ireland when he was a player.
Yep.
So when he was going, they walk out, they go to the dugouts. Lee Carsley accidentally went to the Irish dugout and then had to be escorted, back to the English dugout. Yeah, just old habits die hard, I guess.
That'd be embarrassing.
Refused to sing the English national anthem as the English manager.
Well, he said he refused to sing any national anthem, even when he was playing for Ireland. He just refused to sing any national anthems. Yeah.
Weird. I wonder if that's true. It probably is, yeah. Or they're just calling him out.
Maybe it's just PR.
Yeah. And then Grealish and Rice as well. I think every time they got the ball, they were getting booed and stuff. Got the treatment from the Irish fans. I guess that's fair enough.
Maybe give a bit of background about why they're booed. Grealish and Declan Rice.
They played for the under 21s?
Rice played for the national side.
Oh, did he?
I'm pretty sure Grealish might have as well.
Yeah, okay.
I think they played for the men's seniors.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know. I thought it was just an under 21 or something, but to actually play for the senior team. How does that work then? How many?
It's 3 caps. You can have 3 caps and play for another country.
Right. Rice played 2, and the last time he played at that stadium was for Ireland. And then he obviously scored against Ireland and refused to celebrate, which is I can't believe that's happening in international football. But refusing to celebrate.
It's even funnier when Grealish just started celebrating after he scored.
You could guess that. If you got told before the game, what they both score, one of them puts their hands up and says, I'm not celebrating. The other one's going mental and you'd pick Grealish to do that.
Do you think it's just a case of them realising they're good enough to play for England, so that's why they've switched over?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. They probably, when they're young, started their career, they're, this is an international opportunity. I might never get another one.
Yeah.
I'll play for Ireland, and then they go on to do good things. They become better players, and then England come knocking. Of course you're going to
Yeah.
switch to
Get your head turned. Yeah. Yep.
I reckon that your team, because you think about it, like they'd have a lot of English teammates, both Rice and Grealish, and I also think their managers would get in their ears and say, "You should represent England," because if they're playing for England, there would be a lot bigger sponsorship deals, and they would maybe not say that directly that you'd make more money from it, but they'd point out he could win more trophies of England. But I don't like it. I feel like they should represent the nation that they feel the biggest connection to.
Yeah, but I mean, I think they're both born in England and live in England.
Yeah.
I think they're just playing for Ireland because they have Irish
heritage.
heritage.
Yeah.
Have you seen the thing where Jack Grealish points that they show him the map of England and he says, "Is that England?" And he's like, gobsmacked that it's England.
He is he's
so
not very
funny.
bright.
Yeah, I don't know if he could point out Ireland, but it's still funny that he didn't know what England was.
Let's say they were like I don't know. I think you're right. I think they're born in England, but let's for argument's sake say they were born in Ireland. Do you think you have more of a problem with it?
Yeah, then it's slightly different. I think, like if you're playing for a country based on your heritage, that's fine. But if you're playing for a country based on you were born there, it's you live there. You're ingrained in the culture.
If you're just playing for them because they're the better team, and you're not actually born in that country, then it starts to look a little bit.
Yeah, that's when
bad.
it looks a little bit,
It's
suspect.
Yeah, it's like going to Saudi for the money kind of thing.
Yeah, that is a good comparison.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. Kind of feels like that.
Trophies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else to say about that then?
Nope.
Well, speaking of going to Saudi for the money, Bergwijn and Koeman, the Dutch manager,
Good transition.
thanks, man. I was quite proud of it myself.
Great segue.
Got into a bit of a spat. Koeman, like in a press conference, said like the book was closed on Bergwijn's Netherlands career after he moved from Ajax to Al Ittihad, and he was kind of questioning his motive behind the move, saying he's chosen financial ambitions over like sporting growth. And so he basically said he's never going to play for him anymore. And then Bergwijn responded saying, "Oh, I don't want to play for Koeman anymore. If he was like a good coach, he would have like called me before he's just talked about this stuff in the press." And he said like if there's a different manager of the Netherlands in the future, he'll leave the door open to come back, obviously, but he's not going to play under Koeman. This thing just seems to be kind of blown up, and it seems like it could have been resolved a lot better. What do you think?
If Koeman just didn't go straight to the media and actually talked to one of his players, this would have been fine.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's gone out in a public setting and then made Bergwijn respond in a public setting, it's blown out of proportion.
Yeah. What do you think, Owen?
Yeah, I completely agree with Cameron. The manager should be protecting the players, and I don't think it's got much forward thinking because the league in Saudi Arabia's been getting bigger and bigger. Kante was still playing for France, who made the semis, and Ronaldo's playing for Portugal in the quarterfinals. That they're also big nations of players that have been playing in Saudi Arabia, and they hadn't been ruled out. So, what happens if more players, and it ends up being a good league, and you've just been talking down on it? It's not a good look. I don't know how much forward thinking he's had there.
No, I agree with you. And I don't necessarily agree with what Koeman's saying either, like saying that he's not showing any like sporting integrity or whatever, and it's all about, I mean, obviously it's the money, it is about the money.
Yeah.
But Bergwijn's already gone to the Premier League and he didn't cut it, right? Like he was at Spurs, didn't cut it, and then ended up going back to Ajax. So he's kind of already tried to make it in the big leagues. And now he's getting the offer from Saudi. Why wouldn't you take that? It just makes sense to me.
Yeah, and it's happening to more and more players. Like Ivan Toney, he's on like $1 million a week.
What I heard was his wages went from 25k a week to 800k.
Yeah.
But if it could be $1 million, as you're saying,
He's like the second highest paid English player now, I think.
Yeah.
After Kane.
Oh, Kane's paid more.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, he's paid more
Bayern,
at Bayern.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
That is really crazy.
And I don't think Bayern have a great history of paying a lot for players or spending a lot on
No, they
wages.
generally don't.
Yeah.
Because it's normally fellow German players that are there, so they can get them for a little bit cheaper because they don't want to leave their home nation and they're the most dominant club there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, so it doesn't look like Bergwijn's going to be playing for Holland anymore. We also wanted to talk about some of the late transfers in the Premier League, which kind of happened on deadline day or just before deadline day. The first one, Sterling to Arsenal on loan. I think you and I kind of disagreed on this a bit, Owen. For my position was like, this move doesn't make much sense for Sterling himself because he wasn't playing at Chelsea, and I imagine he wants to start. He still thinks he's a good enough player to start at a Big Six team. So, and I don't think he's going to get to start at Arsenal. But you were kind of saying, well, tell us what you think. Like, he doesn't necessarily need to start.
Well, yeah, I think it's more about your game time rather than whether you're starting or not. And I think there's generally teams like to refresh their forward lines quite regularly. So even if you're not in the best 11, he's still in the best 15, let's say. And Arsenal are going to play a lot of games. He's still going to get a lot of game time. Whereas at Chelsea, I don't think he was going to get much game time. And I also think that Arteta, who he's worked under before, appreciates his abilities to run in behind and a lot more than what Maresca was going to, because Maresca likes the wide wingers, and Sterling started off his career as more of a wide winger, but under Arteta, or under Pep Guardiola, apparently when Arteta used to be an assistant under Pep, and he had a really good relationship with Sterling and helped get the best out of him. As an inside forward, I think having that ability for Arsenal will be invaluable. And who's to say that he can't knock off Martinelli on the left wing? I think he's got a chance there, whereas at Chelsea, he didn't have that chance.
Yeah.
Who else is going to pay his wages?
Do you agree, Cam?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's a good rotation for Arsenal. I think that, with the amount of games they'll be playing this season, that it's kind of essential that you have those top quality players that can just play a bit part. Like, it's, they've what's the word?
Increased?
Yeah, they've increased the ceiling while also increasing their floor.
Yeah.
It's just a good signing.
Yeah, no, I agree from the perspective of Arsenal. It makes a lot of sense. Like you say, they're going to be playing heaps of games. They're going to need rotation and players of similar quality coming in, and the quality of the team not dipping that much when you're making rotations. But yeah, my only thing was like, if he doesn't start, is he going to get upset and he's going to spit the dummy like he did at Chelsea? But we'll see, I suppose. Time will tell.
Even if he does spit the dummy, it's only a loan for a year, and then he can get.
He doesn't have a lot
else
to lose. I guess, like Owen said, he wasn't going to play at Chelsea. He's got a chance of playing at Arsenal, so you would take that, and then try and break into that starting 11 if you can. That makes sense. Let's talk about Sancho going from Man United to Chelsea on loan then. Start with you, Cam.
Oh, good riddance. Thank God. So relieved when that happened. Yeah, I think it's a loan with obligation to buy if Chelsea finish above 14th in the table. So I'm pretty confident. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
So I'm pretty confident that's going to get done. I think it's 20 million to 25. So
I wonder what the thinking is behind putting that clause in, like finishing above 14th.
Well, I think it's just United they wanted a sale more than anything else. And it's
then why would not just make it an obligation to buy, no matter what?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe how long ago did Chelsea finish? Like, they had that really bad season where they were 13th, 14th with 5 games to go.
Yeah.
If that happened again, you wouldn't want to buy a player, a luxury player, for 20 million quid.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
Surely just make it 10th. Surely just make it 10th. Surely both parties can agree on that.
It was probably United just being like, oh, we really want to get rid of him.
All right. Yeah, we'll take him. Oh, that's funny. Sancho had a pretty good second half of the season at Dortmund, though.
He did.
Don't you think he could have played a part for United?
I don't think he could have played a part at United because it didn't seem to go well with Ten Hag. That relationship was never looked good. But Pedro Neto was another signing for Chelsea, and as I was saying, Maresca likes his wide wingers. We've seen Madueke get a lot stronger playing under Maresca as a wide winger. And Sancho fills similar positions to what Pedro Neto and Madueke does. Statistically, there's a bit of a joke in the group chat. I showed that statistically Neto and Sancho are very, very similar. The way that they achieve the chances created and the goals and the dribbles completed is a bit different.
Final word on Sancho for you, Cam.
Yeah, I hope he has a really bad season. I hope he doesn't get anywhere near the first team. I really don't like Sancho.
Despise Sancho. And to clarify, he wasn't a Ten Hag signing. I fucked that up a few weeks ago. Embarrassed myself.
5 weeks running us.
Yeah.
Swearing.
Oh, swearing. I think I've said it a few times this episode already. But anyway, let's move on to Chiesa to Liverpool. £30 million. Seems like a good bit of business.
12 million.
12 million?
12 million.
I swear I checked Transfer Market this morning.
It's probably his values. 30
While you
million.
talk, I'll check it in live time.
Yeah.
I think this is the steal of the transfer window.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one because everyone can see he's got the talent there, but he has never produced end product with it. And I think we see the Euros and we go, oh, look at how good he is.
£10 million, 12 million euros. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's really cheap.
Crazy fee.
Crazy fair. Yeah, I think he wasn't in Thiago Motta's plans, which is quite interesting for me. And he's obviously one of the best dribblers going around. And it's not just because he has played wide before is why he's not getting the end product, because if you're playing wider, you're further from the centre of the goal, you're less likely to score. Last season, he actually played as a centre forward for the large majority of it, and he still didn't get many goals and assists, which is what you'd like to see. I think 13 goals is the most he's got in his career, and he's 26. He has had injury problems. He adds a lot of depth on the right wing, but Cameron's got very strong thoughts about why he'll do well, so
Let's hear it.
Yeah, I just think he's good. Like, I think he's just, by watching him at the Euros in 2020, he was fantastic. And I think, just when you watch his highlights, there's a player there. He just has to stay fit. And I think under Schlott, he'll fit right in.
It's an awesome highlight reel.
Yeah,
it's
a
an
really
awesome
good highlight.
highlight reel.
A couple of seasons ago, he was like one of the most promising young players in the world. All the big teams were after him. And then, he seemed to kind of fall off a little bit. But this deal kind of reminds me of the Balotelli transfer Liverpool a while ago.
Yeah.
In the sense that, like, there's no risk involved because it's such a low price. The player has clearly got talent. In regards to attitude, it's not the same because Balotelli is a crazy...
Because that's kind of of a risk you could argue that he could mess up the dressing room.
Yeah.
Shaqiri is another one that Liverpool got fairly recently that was only about 10 million.
Yeah. You're quite good at picking up these good players on the cheap.
Yeah, it's interesting no one else went for him because, it makes sense for Liverpool because he's best on the right wing. And Liverpool have Nunes, Jota, Gakpo, and Luis Diaz, who are all comfortable playing down the centre or down the left.
Yeah.
And none of them can play down the right. So having Kazea will help with that a lot. But I'm interested to know why other clubs didn't go for him. Like, even at Chelsea, it seems like he could fit the profile.
I think there was a little bit of interest from Spurs, but they never went for him.
Spurs is another one where I would have thought they would have wanted him,
sense.
and he'd go slot straight into the first 11. Maybe he's not a guaranteed first 11 player. Like,
well, he's
he
more of
got
he suits Postecoglou more than Kulusevski does in a way. So
yes, that's what I would have thought.
Yeah, it's interesting. I assumed we didn't go for him because they were asking too much money, but that's clearly not the case. Although I don't know what wages he'll be on.
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I think he had 1 year left after this, so that's why it was a discounted fee.
Yeah.
But Liverpool are generally pretty strict on their wages, and they'll be hoping it doesn't blow out after Trent Alexander-Arnold, Van Dijk, and Salah get signed up to new deals. If they do.
Yeah.
Big if.
Big if.
And I guess for the long term, if this is Salah's last season, kind of makes sense to have a ready-made replacement when he leaves.
Yeah, I think it's also, that's a very good point. I think it's a bit of a contingency plan. If they lose Salah, then what? Because he's played so many games pretty much since, 2017-18?
Yeah.
Pretty much been playing 30-plus games a year. So it's very important that Liverpool have someone who can play there, because we've only been using Harvey Elliott, who's better centrally, and then Ben Doku, I think we were looking to loan out, who's only about 17, 18, and not sure if he's up to the cut.
Yeah. I was seeing online there was a bit of a debate going on about Ronaldo at Man United versus Salah at Liverpool, who's like the better winger.
Okay.
And then since you're a Man United fan, I was wondering what you might think about that debate. Who is like the better player, or who's done more in the Premier League? I suppose is the question, because Ronaldo is clearly a better player, but
more in the Premier League. It probably is Salah.
Yeah,
but I don't know how many titles did Ronaldo win at United?
Do you know?
I'm not sure.
It's got to be a few.
It'll be a few, yeah. But I remember he had that season where he won literally like every single...
2008?
Yeah, 2008. He won every single award that a player could win. Like, that's probably...
He's won 4 Premier Leagues. Yeah. No, he's won 3 Premier Leagues. So.
3?
Yeah.
I think obviously Ronaldo's a better player of his career, but I think his time in the Premier League's a little bit overrated for me personally, and I think Salah's is also underrated. Like, Salah had the second highest. I think did he break the record or equal the record when in his first season?
I think he broke it.
And then...
Oh, he might have equalled it, yeah.
And
32
then...
goals?
Something like that. It was a crazy amount in his first season. And it's not only that, his dribbling numbers at the start, they've slowed down a bit now, but are crazy through the roof. And in terms of creation, it's something that he's been getting better and better at. Since the start of last season, no player's created more big chances than him. Kevin De Bruyne has played less games. If Kevin De Bruyne had played as many games as Salah, he'd be first.
Yeah.
But still, that's a very impressive
output.
Yeah, and that was what Liverpool thought when they recruited him, was he's the triple threat, dribble, shoot, pass. He's the leader of all of them. And I think Ronaldo, amazing. Arguably the best player ever. If you want to have that, go ahead. Over his time in the Premier League, I think 2008 is clearly the best season from out of the two that we've seen.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say, as a biased Liverpool supporter, Salah's time in the Prem, he's been better.
Yeah, I think I agree. I remember when Salah first signed for Liverpool, I was like, oh, this seems like a waste of money. 30 million on him, and he's kind of like all pace. He's a pace merchant and he doesn't score, and he's a terrible finisher. And the first season he proved everyone wrong, scoring 32
But then
goals.
everyone thought it'd be a one-season wonder. That was the next
and
claim.
then he just kept doing it every season.
Yeah.
And then it's got to that stage where you just have to acknowledge, he's a beast.
Yeah.
He's really good.
He'll go down as like top 5 Prem player of all time, probably.
Yeah, I think so too.
I think the one thing is that sometimes you have one touch that's a bit too heavy or a bit loose. Like, he has that in him, like occasionally. And then people will just point at the screen from the house and be like, see, I told you it wasn't that good. Like, do you see that thing he messed up? But
then he follows up and scores 2 goals.
Yeah.
Let's talk about one more transfer then. Ward-Prowse to Forest on loan. Is this a bit of a surprise? I think it was a deadline day move, wasn't it?
Yes. Surprise, Cameron doesn't like the move at all. So maybe Cameron should start, and I can respond.
I thought he was like more than good enough to be a cog in West Ham's midfield, whether that's starting or coming off the bench. He's invaluable in his set piece taking, and that, like, West Ham are a team that kind of, they do prefer having good set piece takers, scoring a lot of goals from set pieces. So I don't understand why transfer him out.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, everyone always says he can only take set pieces, but I think he's actually a pretty good. He's a bit underrated on the ball as well. Like, his passing's good, his dribbling's pretty good. So yeah, I'm a little bit surprised West Ham got rid of him. You on?
See, I'm not as big of a fan of what he does in general play. I think he's closer to the top-tier championship team than the middle of the Premier League for his outside of set pieces. And I really like the move, as I've been pretty big on Nottingham Forest, and I was going to do a surprise thing about Nottingham Forest earlier, but I think it's probably more suited here.
Yeah.
So Nottingham Forest last season were one of the worst set-piece teams in an attacking and defensive sense. This season, they haven't played the best teams, but they've had the 4th most fouls against, but still they're 5th best for expected goals against from set pieces. So they went from being the worst to 5th best in one season. Oh, well, it's only been 3 games. 3 games. And right now, they're currently 1st for expected goals from set pieces. Last season, they were terrible at it. They're one of the tallest teams. They brought in a centre-back as well who can help with headers. And now they're adding James Ward-Prowse, arguably the best set-piece taker of all time, to a team whose main deficiency was the goalkeeper wasn't performing very well, and set pieces. So if James Ward-Prowse can get them going, and he'll be a big part. I don't know if he was going to be in the first 11 for West Ham. He'll be in the first 11 for Nottingham. Exciting times.
Yeah, I think it's a good transfer for Nottingham. I don't think it's a good transfer for West Ham. I think West Ham have definitely lost here.
I'm just curious how. I don't think that they rated him as highly as we do. I think that they thought they had other set piece takers like that could do the job. Sufal and Cresswell have helped out, and then they've got some other pieces. Piqueta's pretty good, so I don't think that there's as much of a step up from him being there, because to me he's below average outside of that. Yes, as you were saying, he can still do a long ball. He's still good at passing, but I don't think he moves around that well, around the pitch that well, and outside of the set pieces, he can be a tiny bit of a liability.
Well, I was going to say he would have been like the perfect signing for Everton, since they scored so many set pieces. But now you've just sold that move to Nottingham Forest, shooting up the rankings in XG from expected goals for set pieces. That's exciting. We have to keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
See how many set pieces they score.
Because they're tall, and now they've got a good set piece taker,
Yeah.
and it's something that you can tell that they care about as a club, because they've really tried to address it. So it's something that they're going to be working on. So whereas with Spurs, I'm not so sure Ange is putting everything in place to.
They have been a bit better at set pieces.
I think in an attacking sense that they're first or something. Spurs this season. It's attacking or defensive. They're first.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think we've conceded from
attacking.
one yet. Not in the Premier League.
Nottingham were first attacking, so it must be defensive sense. They're the best.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. They must have put a little bit of work in. All right then. Speaking of Spurs, the big game of the weekend's North London derby, Arsenal versus Spurs. At Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. What do we think? Arsenal. The last game we played Arsenal at home towards the end of the season was when we went on that terrible run, losing like 5 games in a row, and they actually played pretty well, but they lost 3-2. They went 3-0 down really early on. I think it was 2 set pieces, which we conceded from, and then a counter attack from Saka as well. And then we somehow kind of like fought our way back with a penalty and a goal from Romero after like charging up the pitch like a crazy man. And we could have pinched a point, but we didn't. But yeah, do you think Spurs have got a chance, especially now Odegaard looks like he's injured?
Declan Rice is out.
Declan Rice is suspended. Could be an opportunity there.
Yeah, I think that those are 2 big outs. I saw that since the start of last season, Odegaard's had the most through balls. He's won the possession the most time in the opposition's third. And he has, I think it was created the most chances as well. So there's like 3 stats you'd want to be good at, and he is. So that's a big loss. Declan Rice is a big loss at the back. So I wonder how they're going to change their defence around. Look, I haven't seen a whole lot of Arsenal, but I have seen on the table, Arsenal 4th, Spurs 10th. I'm pretty sure if you look at the expected points, though, from the 2 games, Spurs are 4th and Arsenal are a bit lower. I think they're 6th or 7th.
Yeah, okay.
If there was average shooting. So it's It'll be close. It's a flip of a coin from my perspective. Who's going to come out on top, especially with those outs for Arsenal.
Yeah, what do you think, Cam?
Yeah, this is a anything game. Anything like Spurs could win 4-1, or Arsenal could like just have a really easy time, set up well against Postecoglou's high line and just exploit it.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone knows how Postecoglou is going to play. He's not going to change anything. It'll be the same game plan from Arsenal as the last time we played them. And it's just about whether Spurs can execute it better. We've got Udogie at left back, which we didn't have in the last game. I think he was injured. So that could make a bit of a difference. He's pretty quick. He should be able to keep up with Saka. That could be crucial.
When's Solanke back?
Yeah, I think Solanke, my feeling is he will start this game. He could have played last game, but Postecoglou didn't want to risk him.
Okay, yeah.
And then he's had the international break, and now he's playing. I think he'll probably start. It could be good for Spurs.
Raya can panic a little bit, and if there is a good presser against him, that he will just go long, and Ange likes to have the ball, so that is something that could give Spurs an advantage. But I mean, if we were talking about the game last time, set pieces probably be a little bit less of an issue for Spurs. They'd be hoping, but I don't know if they can rely on winning a penalty and scoring in the same fashion. It's going to be hard to break down. They struggle to break down teams. Arsenal's last season was the best defence in the Premier League. So they've got to try break that down. And meanwhile, while they're attacking, Spurs are at their most vulnerable while they're attacking. So that is a bit of a concern. It does make it seem like it's another bad matchup for Spurs.
Yeah. There's definitely some truth to that, but it's probably a better matchup than playing a team who just sits in a low block, because the last few games Spurs have really struggled against that. We struggled against Newcastle, who defended really deep and then have a really good quick attacking players on the counter attack, which hurt us.
Yeah, you might be right.
And then Leicester was the same thing. They sat really deep. We couldn't break them down. Whereas Arsenal, they'll probably try and get us on the counter attack, but they're not going to sit deep.
Yeah, they are generally a pretty controlled team anyway.
Yeah.
Like Arteta and Pep Guardiola don't like things to go how they haven't planned for, so they don't like it getting too chaotic.
I think they'll press us as well. They did last season. They press us from the front because we do, as much as he likes playing out from the back, we do make mistakes. Vicario is sometimes looks a bit shaky, and Romero as well is a bit casual on the ball at times. So I think they will press us, which could go either way. We either turn it over and concede, or we pass through the press and score. So
it's one of the reasons why this game's so hard to pick.
Yeah. I'm optimistic though. I think it's probably as good a time as any to play Arsenal with their injuries.
Oh, definitely.
And they haven't started the season that great, I don't think.
Yeah.
Performance-wise, anyway. So I'm gonna go for a Spurs win. I'm gonna say 2-1. What do you think, Cam?
I'll go 2-2.
Nice bet.
I'm gonna be boring and say 1-1.
All right. Now I'm going to talk. I think Owen wanted to have this little segment, a team that surprised you so far in the last.
I pretty much went over it with the Nottingham stuff beforehand, but I do have something on Chris Wood.
Chris Wood,
and I want you guys. So he missed 5 weeks for injury last season, but over the past 365 days, how many players do you reckon average more non-penalty goals per 90? He's played 31 games last season, so it's not like it's a small sample size. He's been playing this season. How many players do you reckon have scored have had a better rate for non-penalty goals than him?
Haaland.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty obvious.
But
how many are there?
So Haaland, just for reference, I don't know if I should tell you, he was only 0.01 non-penalty goal. He scored 0.01 more non-penalty goals per 90
than Chris Wood.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah. There's 2 more players.
2 more.
That's
impressive.
impressive.
Only 2 other players have more non-penalty goals.
Was this
90.
all of Europe or just
Premier League? Just Premier League players.
Who could they be? Isak?
Nope.
No.
I think he was 0.56 and Chris Wood was 0.67.
Salah? No.
Nope, not Salah.
I've got no clue. Is it like, what team do they play for?
One's for Aston Villa.
Watkins.
Nope.
Diaby?
Nope.
Yeah, okay, Owen.
Duran.
Durant.
He averages 1.04 non-penalty goals per 90
How many
over
games
the
has he
past
played,
year.
though?
I don't know.
Like 6.
I know he's got the second highest goals per game record in Premier League history if you've played more than 5 games. And Haaland's first. And the other one plays for Arsenal.
Havertz?
Not Havertz.
Saka?
He only averages 0.44.
Trossard.
It's Trossard.
It is
0.69. Yeah, so
wow.
bit of a fun one. Chris Wood, underrated player.
What a
Where's the
player.
love? Where's the love for Chris Wood? And I won't stand for it.
I remember him scoring that hat-trick last year. I can't remember who it was against, but it was a great hat-trick.
Yeah, I think I had him in my fantasy team for ages and he wasn't playing and I was like, all right, I'm going to get rid of him. And then pretty much straight after he scores a hat trick.
Oh, God.
And I
That's the
was
worst.
spewing, yeah.
It's always the case.
It is. All right, then. To wrap up, should we go into... Do you want to do your dominant tonight or not?
Oh, go on, Owen.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
So, just so you guys know, this one's a bit more of a legal one. So, with law, sometimes they'll apply a reasonableness test. Okay, and so an example of that is someone goes to sue Red Bull because they say, Red Bull, they said that you'd give me wings if I drank this drink.
Yeah, right.
Why didn't I get wings? I'm suing you because I didn't get wings. And then you apply the reasonable test. Would a reasonable person think that you'd get wings from this?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, then sometimes it gets a little bit more complicated. Like one time, Pepsi said, if you buy Pepsi, you get 10 Pepsi points. And if you get 100 Pepsi points, you get a free basketball. If you get 1,000 Pepsi points, you get an Xbox. If you get 10 million Pepsi points, you can get a fighter plane, a jet fighter plane. And this one guy bought a bunch of Pepsi points online. So he bought enough so he could get the fighter plane.
Yeah.
And so Pepsi were like, okay, crap. We'll offer you like 5 mil. Just don't take us to court over this.
Yeah.
And he's like, no,
I want my
I want my fighter plane. And do you guys want to guess what happened? They had to apply
He
the
didn't
reasonable
get the
test.
fighter jet.
They didn't get it. They said a reasonable
Really?
person would know that that was just there for a joke. And it wasn't like an actual, like, it wasn't actually meant to be an illegal agreement.
Nah.
So he should have
That's
taken
dumb.
the 5 mil from Pepsi.
Yeah, he should have taken the 5 mil.
Pepsi should have given him a jet. They put it in the contract.
This man really wanted his jet, clearly.
Okay, so now we're going to move to the Premier League. How does this relate? Okay?
Yeah.
Profit sustainability rules. There's been a couple of issues with Leicester. So in 22-23, it seemed like they had broken, like they were well over the amount for the profit sustainability rules. Problem was, Leicester got relegated, and it was done by financial year, so 1 July to 30 June. So in the last 2 weeks, Leicester were not a Premier League side, and they were a Championship side. And in the document that the Premier League had wrote, they said that this only applies to Premier League clubs. And so they had to apply the reasonable person's test. Do they think it's reasonable for Leicester to be considered a Premier League club for the whole time? Because for all intents and purposes, that's why they had the profit sustainability rules. It wasn't so if you got put down a division, you get out of it.
Yeah.
What do you guys reckon happened? What do you reckon the consensus was? Do you reckon they were like, oh, yeah, a reasonable person would know that they meant for Premier League for the majority, not just if you were 2 weeks in the...
Yeah. You'd think that that would happen.
Yeah, I agree.
They said because you wrote down Premier League club specifically, Leicester have avoided the profit sustainability rule span. And the championship didn't impose it either because they thought they didn't want to double ban them. They didn't want to ban them for being over in the championship and over in the Premier League.
Yeah.
And they thought it was a certainty that they were going to get punished in the Premier League. So Leicester have ended up
scot-free
Jesus.
on a technical legality.
Does this mean that, like, if Man City get relegated this year, 115 charges disappear? Because if I'm Pep, I'm throwing every game.
Well, no, because they came off. They were over multiple years, and Man City didn't get relegated in those years.
Okay.
And part of the problem is that the Premier League and Championship are considered different legal entities, whereas most of the time they're joint. But the EFL, the English Football League, is different to the Premier League. Unfortunately, Leicester have got away scot-free. What do we think? Is the law dumb or not?
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty dumb. If you're an Everton fan or a Nottingham Forest fan, you'd be absolutely spewing
That's
over
just
that.
getting off on a technicality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, it's pretty dumb with the Premier League as well to mess up the wording. Yeah.
Yeah. How could you not think that far ahead?
That could happen and be called to court. Yeah. Leicester were apparently quietly confident that they were going to get off from this. So they thought they were going to be in the clear.
Yeah. You've got some good lawyers.
Yeah.
But it's honestly quite an obvious one, isn't it? God, yeah. Dumb for the Premier League and dumb that they've got off. They got scot-free, yeah. All right, should we go quick fire? I don't have any questions, so it's on you.
Quick fire questions. Quick fire question number 1. What would be your honest FIFA rating?
As in, like, us?
Yeah.
Like 12?
I thought 12 as well. It's just confident. He's thinking 20s.
I was actually thinking 30s, but now,
I was thinking 30s. No,
maybe I should go back down.
No. 3 in the 30s. 3,
I was going to say
2,
36.
36. Wow, you rate
Just
yourself.
off pace.
Question number 2. Has the Nations League been a success?
No.
Australia winning the Asian Cup or England winning the Euros?
England winning the Euros.
You've both got English heritage.
Australia winning the Asian Cup.
I'm not surprised by those answers. And is this proof that England are better with Gordon over Foden the past 2 games?
Yeah.
No. 2 games is not proof.
There we go. there's the quick fire questions.
That was good. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll wrap it up there. And we'll have some exciting games to talk about on the weekend. Definitely the North London derby. So thanks for coming on, Cam.
Thanks for having me back. It's been great.
Thanks, Owen.
Thank you, Ezra.
I'll see you all next time.